Just getting some more chairs. And if you could turn the echo off, please. Thank you. Okay. I think we can get the rest of the chairs from this side as well. We should have. There's plenty of chairs here. Okay, we ready to start? Please, if we can just get started, because we're just worried about the time. Okay. Par Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, thank you very much for coming in on a Sunday. I know everyone's been busy with programs everywhere, and some have been donating blood already this morning. So if you faint, we know who you are. It's an honor to have Sayyid Muhammad Rizvi here to present this seminar on Khums. It's one of the two most requested questions we get is about Khums and about wills. So we will start with the Khums programs today, and Maulana will go through that there. With regarding to wills, just as a side note, not to do with this program, but we will have something there. I've asked Brother Samir, who is a lawyer in a firm in the city, and he's going to help us to make sure we have guidance on Islamic wills in terms of Australian rules, but we will discuss that a bit later. But he will also be sitting in to see all the rules of Khums as well that are all correctly done. We have a book here that we've printed in over the last few days, which Maulana has allowed us to print for you. It's cost us $17.50, I think, but we'll charge you $20 just to make sure we have a rounding issue. The sheikhs, our accountants said we could do that. So if you don't mind, if you need to purchase the book, you don't have to, but you can purchase with the book. So if we can please request a loud salawat, and we can start from here. From Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين واللعنة الدائمة الباقية لأعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد, sisters and brothers in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I had been asked long before even we finalized the trip to Australia to find time for this seminar on Khums and will. I realized, okay, it's the same situation. You will not be left alone with only this speech. Whatever else is possible, the issue would be there. But alhamdulillah, we are there to serve the mazhab of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. When it comes to the issue of Khums, would like to very quickly go through the basics using the PowerPoints and maybe leave more time for questions if you have on that issue. When it comes to the concept of charity in all religions, it is there. Sometimes it is considered, of course, charity in a sense that voluntarily you give away part of your wealth for the poor and the needy. This is general. I think all religions agree with that. But there are some who also have this portion where, especially when the religion which handles a community and a society, and that's where taxation comes into it. And the wajib dues that we have basically in the Shia fiqh also, one of them is Khums. So you have zakat, you have Khums, you have zakatul fitr, which is actually a kind of zakat, which is the most common. Everybody, pays that on the day of Eid al-Fitr. We'll very quickly go through Khums in the sense that this is the most common duty on the Shias of Ahlul Bayt. So let me begin with the ayat of Quran from Surah Anfal, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now just terminology wise, the actual term in Arabic is al-Khums. But in Farsi, Urdu, Gujarati, we just say Khums. So we don't want to go into this, language issues. You can say it the way you want, that's fine. Whether you say Khums or you say Khums, we are talking about the same thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah says, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا غَنِمْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَإِنَّ لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ وَلِلرَّسُولِ وَلِذِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ, that know that whatever of a thing you acquire, and I don't want to go into the Shia Sunni perspective about it. What does ghanima means here? It's not just booty and spoils of war. But that's how the Sunnis limit that to it. But I'll leave that discussion. It is there in the book. We have talked about it in detail. What does the word ghanimtum mean? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, whatever you acquire, a fifth of it, khumusuhu, is for Allah and for the messenger and for the near relative. This is in a singular sense. And then the orphan, the needy, and the stranded traveler. We'll go through the application of this ayat at the end, inshallah. So basically, it's part of the teachings of the Quran. Sometimes we get this question, well, Maulana, Khums is mentioned only once or maybe twice. Zakat is mentioned, multiple times. The issue is not about how many times an issue, something has been mentioned in the Quran. Hajj has been mentioned only one, but it's considered to be one of the 5 pillars of Islamic teachings. And if you go with frequency, well, the name of Musa alayhi salam is mentioned 160 times in the Quran, whereas the name of our own prophet is mentioned only 4 times. That doesn't mean Musa alayhi salam is on a higher level than, the prophet. So these are sometimes people, raise this question, but don't take it that seriously. Just one statement from the prophets from Sahih Bukhari. A delegation of Banu Abdul Qais came to Medina. And these were the people who could not easily come to Medina because they were surrounded by mushrikeen in the area between Medina and their location. So it was not really a situation where they would be able to, let's say, have a fight with the mushrikeen and gain mali ghanimat, booty of war. There were people who were in a way in a militarily weak situation. And when that delegation came, on the way, when they were leaving the Prophet, they said, can you advise something we can take with our people from you? And this is where the Prophet says, in Sahih Bukhari, Amirukum bi'arba'. I command you four things. Number 1, al-iman, with the details, وَأَقَامَ الصَّلَاةِ, establishing prayers, وَإِيتَاءِ الزَّكَاةِ, giving the zakat, وَأَن تُؤَدُّوا إِلَيَّ خُمْسَ مَا غَنِمْتُمْ, and bring to me the khums of what you acquire. Now this is, the context of this community is nothing to do with war, booties or mali ghanimat in that sense. This is acquiring whatever they have. And so even, Sahih Bukhari has this issue, and it was practiced during the days of the Prophet, even during the early days of the Khulafa, but gradually they diluted this issue because they wanted to cut off the financial source for Banu Hashim, and especially the Ahlul Bayt, the way we saw in the case of Fadak, for example. Anyway, keeping the history on side, Khums basically is wajib on 7 items. And surplus and profit of income, legitimate wealth mixed with haram wealth, mines and minerals, precious stones obtained through diving, treasures, land that a dhimmi kafir buys from a Muslim, and the spoils of war. Now, we have this 7 list. In the Sunni fiqh, they focus on number 7, but they also agree, some of the, among the 4 schools, item 3 and 5 is also included as the item on which khums is wajib, even now. Now, normally in the books, we only talk about the 2 most common of the 7 cases, because these are the most common examples. So if anybody is in mining, they will have to then go and ask for a specific ruling or look at the books. So the masail are there, but we don't talk about them. We only look at the most common one, and the common is basically the surplus and profit of the income, the saving that you have at the end of the khums year. And on that, basically one of the issues is that you will have to, number 1, decide what is your khums day. Sharia has given you flexibility. You decide that and you choose when. You can base it on the Muslim calendar, or you can base it on the common calendar. If you go with the common calendar, you are on the positive side because it's longer compared to the, Islamic calendar is 10 days shorter. But there's no problem. Even if that is the perspective in doing it, Islam has given you the option. Because it has more to do with the source of income, how you earn in that society. Especially if your income is based on, let's say, things to do with the seasons and things like that. And the second most common item which is discussed is the issue when a person ends up with halal and haram income, which is all mixed up, and he doesn't know how to separate one from the other. Now, when you say that khums is wajib on the savings of whatever you acquire, basically we are talking about income that you earn, whether from business or wages, salary, or investment. We're talking about stock market shares or dividend income, or any other means of earning recognized by the Sharia. So that will be what you acquire. This will include, now there is a difference in the fatwa, especially between the late Ayatollah Khoui and Ayatollah Sistani. Gifts, prizes, bonus, severance pay, sadaqah. If somebody is receiving sadaqah, at the end of the year he has some leftover, he has to pay khums on that. Similarly, those who are on the receiving side of zakat and khums. An unexpected legacy means if somebody, your distant relative, whom you didn't even think that will, he or she will leave something for you, all of a sudden you come to know that in their will they have a portion for you. So this is unexpected, legacy, and this is where those who are not closely related to you, and so that also will be included in your income as far as calculation of khums is concerned. So it's not, khums is now, this is important to keep in mind, khums is not like income tax. It's not applied on income, it is applied on the savings that you have at the end of the year. So if somebody earns something, annually this is the income, and he's just hand to mouth at the end of the year, he doesn't have anything. Everything has been spent for the legitimate expenses, then khums is not wajib on that person. So when we say the word wajib, remember, you don't have to generate savings to give khums. It only becomes wajib when you have saving at the end. It's just like Hajj. Hajj is wajib if you have the means. But is it wajib for you to earn enough so that you can have the money to go for Hajj? No. But once you have it, so similarly when it comes to khums, if you save anything at the end, then this is where the khums will come up. So when we say annual income, we are talking about minus expenditures of self and dependence. So whatever remains, we call it surplus or saving, and that is where this is ma ghanimtum, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the term in the Quran, and that's where the khums will become wajib. Now when we talk about dependence could be of two types. There are some dependents whose maintenance is wajib on you. They are called wajibun nafaqa. You have to provide for them. Then there are other dependents whose maintenance is not a duty on you, but you have taken on the responsibility. So the expenses for both kinds of dependents is part of the legitimate expenses of a person. So for example, those who are wajibun nafaqa, in the list in fiqh, you would have number 1, wife, number 2, children, number 3, parents. On the non-obligatory dependents would be anyone, relative, friend, or orphan, Now, is anything from what you get and receive, is it exempted from khums? Number 1, the mahr, which is paid to the bride, part of the aqd and the marriage contract. So we are not using the word dowry here in the meaning of jahez. We're talking about mahr. So even if a lady gets, $50,000 mahr, well, that's not common. I'm just giving you a number there just to show that would be exempted, even if stays with her for 10 years. So there's no khums on it. Inheritance, also there is no khums on it. And there is no time limit. If it stays with you as many years, there is no khums in the inheritance. Compensation or insurance payouts, for the personal injury. If you were involved in an accident or injury at workplace and you are compensated for that personal injury, that would be an amount which is exempted from khums calculation. Similarly, any loan, financial loan, whether it's a line of credit or student loan that people have, because you had that loan, even if it stays with you for more than a year, there is no khums on that loan amount. Now these items are exempted from khums even if they stay with you for years. As I said, there is no expiry date for that. The main thing is that if you have anything from these items, keep record of that so that it doesn't mix with other incomes, and maybe down the road then you wouldn't know what is from what source, and it might become a complication as far as calculation of khums is concerned. So for example, let's say somebody had a huge amount in inheritance, and he also has his own regular income, and he decides not to use the inheritance amount. Whatever his expenses is going to use from the regular income. There is no problem. It's not that because now you have this huge amount from inheritance, you must use it up. No, that is your choice. You can keep it, and there is no khums related to it. Now, when we talk about allowable expense, when you do the calculation of khums, anything which is considered to be legitimate expense is exempted from that same Khums year. So this is not an exhaustive list. We're just looking at the items very quickly here. You can just look at the screen probably instead of me going through it. Important items would be, even Hajj and Ziyarat expenses are legitimate expense, religious dues, donations, sadaqah, gift, paying debts, of course, even insurance premiums that you pay. That also is a legitimate expense. And even the taxes that you have to pay to the government. That also is part of the legitimate expenses. And or if you are a member of any organization and you have to pay the membership dues, that's also fine. Anything which is considered to be normal expenses in life would be considered to be, legitimate. Now, we have something in Canada, yes.
Leisure trips, is that also?
What?
Leisure trips, so going on a trip. Holidays.
Oh yeah, holidays, yeah. Maybe that should be there. Didn't we have it? Okay, no, that's also okay. Any, personal vacation or trips, this is all legitimate, yeah. We have something in Canada, CPP. I was looking at the equivalent here in Australia. This is the term. Is it relevant?
Yes.
Yeah. So just edit it today. Basically, this is what we call the money which is deducted from your salary. You don't even see it. Your employer is supposed to deduct that and send it to the government. And that becomes part of the mandatory pension plan that the government is forcing us to go through. And so at that time, you don't even see that money. It doesn't even come to you. And so there is no khums on it. The khums will only apply once you are allowed to withdraw it. And at that time, you will consider that to be that year's income. So you don't go back that, when was it deducted? No. From the time you receive it, years after that, so from that would be that year of, considering that to be your income, and you pay khums on it if you have saved it by the end of your khums date. If you end up using it, then there would be no khums on it. There's something, yes?
Just on that one, within Australia, you do have the option to contribute more money under certain circumstances, one. And secondly, for a lot of people who are doing their private thing, where they don't have an employer.
We're coming with the second one.
Okay.
So we have something in Canada, we call it RRSP, which means Registered Retirement Saving Plan. It's opposite the CPP with the government forces on us. And so individually we can decide that, okay, we will set the money aside every year, and the government basically allows that, and you don't have to pay khums on it. In US, it's known as 401k. Now, unlike the other one, where it is mandatory, we don't have a choice on it, we don't even see that money. This is what you plan yourself. You made the choice, and you are contributing towards it. By definition, it is a saving that you are making for future. And so khums will be applicable on it. Although there is a benefit there for you that you don't have to pay khums on it. So once you put that money in, it is invested in different, vehicles by your bank or wherever you do that. And so there is gain comes in gradually. What happens to that? So we know as far as the actual amount that you are putting in your own, designed pension plan, where you save the tax, Khums would be wajib on it already from beginning, because that is part of your saving. But then, when that money is invested by the financial institutions for you, and there is increment in them gradually, that is not accessible to you, because if you take it out, you will have to pay tax. It's only when you reach to the age of retirement. So on the incremental gains, there is no Khums until at the end. But what happens to the original, amount that you have been putting every year? Of course, in Canada, there's a limit how much you can put that in RRSP, not more than that. But so either if you have, other resources from which you can pay the Khums and then put into the RRSP, then you don't have to worry about it. You only have to then worry about the gains that you have at the end. So this is where you'll have to keep numbers, your records, for years, to make sure what was your actual contribution on an annual basis in this retirement plan that I have designed myself, whether I paid Khums on it or not. Now, many times, people say, well, I don't have enough to put money in such a plan. But the government, or the banks help that out. They say, okay, we'll give you a loan. And so you can gradually pay that off, and you don't have to pay tax on it now. So there are two ways of handling this. Either the initial amount that you put every year, separate the Khums and then put it in. So that amount is now Khums free. But then you have to keep an account of it every year, how much you put, and Khums has been paid from this amount, is Khums free. So at the end, you only look at the increment. That will be your new income. And on that you will have to deal with the Khums. Or if you don't pay the Khums now, we just put it in there, then the entire amount, what you have put in this plan, as well as the increment and the gains that you have at the end, the entire amount will be liable for Khums. So it depends on individual situations, but if they are not going to pay in the initial amounts on an annual basis, then it is important to write it down as a note, especially in your will, so that the heirs know at the end that, okay, this is the money which is materializing now, but the entire amount is liable for Khums on behalf of the deceased. Because if you don't talk about it, you don't write it, they don't know, and you end up with a liability even after death.
Sayyid,
Yeah.
This is not liable, it's only on contributions, not on the profits made on it. Because here we can invest in property as well, with what you call RRSP, we call it self-managed fund, yes? For funds.
Yeah.
So what if we invest that money in a property and we actually make money on funds or...
But the way we have, at least in Canada, you can't really touch that.
You can't touch it, no, that's correct.
Yeah. No, then whatever you, everything which is extra there as far as investment is concerned, Khums will be applicable on that. Yeah.
Whenever you withdraw it.
but when you withdraw it, because you cannot take it out now. If you take it now, then the whole idea of, saving tax is gone. So the purpose of that would be defeated.
If there could be certain situations where if you reach an age, let's say 60 or 65 something, the government gives you the option, you can withdraw a big chunk of it out, maybe the whole amount depending, or you can convert it to an annuity payment plan kind of. In a situation where you can access the funds at a very retirement age, but you choose not to, what happens in that? Like you, assuming it's a mandatory plan or whatever the situation may be, if you have the option, you don't choose to take it out, is Khums wajib on that or not?
If you had the option, then Khums would be wajib on it.
Even at 65?
Because you are deciding yourself that you don't want to withdraw now. In the earlier case there, before retirement age, you really didn't have an option. You had an option, but then you are defeating the whole plan of this, tax shelter. So wherever option is there, the applicability of Khums will come in. In real life, the older you become, your expenses are going to increase. It's better to just pay it off and live with whatever you have. Because the more older you become, the expenses will increase in that way. I don't know you have this in Australia or not, something we call it tax-free saving account. It's a minimum amount. I think it's just $6,000 now. Every year you can put that. It's tax exempt. Do you have something in Australia like that? No.
Contribution we do in super is tax exempted, but you pay tax when you withdraw it.
Okay.
So that's how it is. It's not exactly DFSA, but similar.
So we'll just leave it. What about registered education saving plan? RRSP we had. In Canada, government encourages you to save money for your children's post-secondary education, for college, university. And of course, there is an amount that you can put, and then the government also will match certain percentage for a few years. So that is also, whatever you are putting in it, it's a saving for the future, for your children. And so Khums will, again, it's just like RRSP, because this is a saving and Khums will apply on that amount. What the government is contributing in there, Khums will not be applicable till it materializes at the end. And then that goes to the child for his or her, education. And so besides the actual amount with the parents put in, where they are liable for the Khums, the rest of it, and the whole amount now, because the ownership is now changing, going to the student, to the child. That will be considered to be the child's income of that year. If they spend it, give the whole fees or whatever, then that's fine. Otherwise, whatever they save in that, they will have to pay Khums on it.
There is nothing as the government is adding to the money, but you've got private firms who say they can save for your child it goes like from primary school to the 16th time the child is year 6, and from year 7 they will start getting funds for their uniform or shoes. But that amount is enough for them to pay for that particular thing, like buy a laptop or excursion, things like that. But with the post-secondary years, you can have another plan, and when they reach university, they can use those funds to pay the fees or whatever. Like you can get HECS against that, so, but then you got to pay HECS, like it's like the money that government has loaned you and you got to pay back. But if you have that education fund, but there's nothing that government puts anything.
Oh, okay. No, this is where the government in Canada encourages that, and they even contribute. The government puts in So basically, if the government is not doing anything, you are doing it on your own, it will still be considered to be a saving.
Yes, but
Because you are saving for the future.
yeah, but if that saving is completely utilized, then you're not supposed to pay homes.
Can you be louder, please?
Okay, so if that contribution is only enough for that child to pay for the education, it doesn't save anything from there.
Okay. But this is for future years? Yeah. So whatever the parent is saving at that time will be a saving and homes will be applicable on it. At the end, when it's withdrawn, it's going to the child or the parents are taking it?
Child.
To the child, okay.
It doesn't go to the parent, it goes to the child's name, and the child is the.
And the child, basically, if the child ends up using it for that 1 year from the time they get it, there is nothing. But if they save on it, there will be homes on it. There's a misconception. People think that, okay, I as a father, for example, already paid homes in this amount, and now I'm giving it to my son. You can use it. So because homes is already paid on that amount, my son or daughter doesn't have to pay homes. No, ownership has changed. Now it depends on that child's situation. It's their income now, whether they are saving it or they are using it.
Sorry, Sheikh, just on that, even if you're gifting the money to the child, like, you give ED or something and the child invests that money for the child.
We're coming to that. I don't know if you have something like this in here in Australia. Child government benefit. Huh? You have?
Different form.
Okay. Now, if the child spends the money for the parents spend it for the child, then basically it's put in the same kitty. The parents will basically manage it, and they will look at it not separately from their own income. Because the government gives to them not for the as a property of the child. It's the parents who are being helped to take care of the children. But if the parents keep the money aside for the child's future, because there are some people who are kind of they say, no, Maulana, this is not my money, this is my child's money. This is not child's money, it's your money. The government is giving to you to take care of your child. But there are some who say, no, we don't want to use this for ourselves, we'll take care of the children, so they have a separate account for them. They put this money in the child's account. Now, according to Ayatollah Khoui, as long as the child is not baligh, there is no khums in whatever he or she earns. But according to Ayatollah Sistani, the application of khums has nothing to do with the age of the owner. So there are two different perspectives there. Is khums applicable based on the age of the owner, or is it applicable on the generation of income itself? So the late Ayatollah Khomeini and Ayatollah Sistani are on that side. They're saying it doesn't matter whether the income, belongs to a 6-year-old child. The custodian or the guardian has to pay khums on it if it is saved after the end of the year. But Ayatollah Khoui linked that issue of obligation of khums to bulu of a child. So there are two different ways of looking at it. Child allowance, this we're talking about ED and things like that. The same principle is being, used there. The child gets the money, whether they keep it or they use it. If they are not baligh, even if it's a big amount, doesn't matter, according to Ayatollah Khoui. But according to Ayatollah Sistani, the guardian has to see if they saved it at the end of the year, then they'll have to pay khums on that amount. So whether it's ED or gift, it's all the same principle. home equity and Khums. You bought a home, after a year the value went up. Do you have to pay Khums on the increased value? No. So don't worry about it.
On the part, one of the exemptions we had was financial loans. So with the financial loans, if you use that for not your primary residence but investment property, how does that work?
We'll come to that. So if you have, so the home equity or the increase in the value of the home, there is no Khums on it. But if you save it, you sell it and you get, let's say, $100,000 profit. If you use that within a year for another residential home, then there is no Khums on it. But if you keep it for a year, then Khums will apply on that profit that you made on the sale of the house.
With the same Khums here.
Yeah, but I consider that to be an unusual income. It's not normal income. So you do not necessarily go with the Khums date. You go from the day you got that money till 1 year.
And if you struggle in Toronto, similar issue with the market, and it takes you 15 months as an example, just being realistic, to find a home, would that be applicable?
No, then after a year you'll have to pay Khums.
Okay.
No. A clarification on the issue of new unused items. I see a lot of people go out of their way to make sure, or today is the Khums day, and they go. Especially our sisters, very particular about it. Even the salt dispenser, okay, it has half of this salt there, so you have to calculate this because this is not used this year, this is for next year. This is where you have to realize that we are talking about new unused items. So if you, let's say, have a shirt you bought 2 months ago, but you have not used it, and Khums date comes in, you will have to put the value of that shirt on it, or the watch or purse or whatever. But if it is an item that you opened it, and it's something which you have used only partially, then the Khums is only applicable on that partial, portion which is remaining, if it has sellable value in eyes of the market. And so, for example, half bottle of perfume, who is going to buy from you? Nobody's going to buy that. So you all used only half of it. The half is still remaining. You don't have to worry about, finding out the value of that or because it's a used item. Although practically it has not been fully used, but nobody's going to buy or half of the bottle of the shampoo, for example. But then on the other hand, if you have, let's say, you go and buy basmati rice in the desi shop, you will see, there is a bag of 5 kilo, 10 kilo, 20 kilo. There, probably the rice bag that you have of 20 kilo at home still has half of it. That might still be considered to be something which can be sold, maybe with a different stitching on it. So it's instead of 20 kilo, now it's 10 kilo bag. So there probably you will include the value of that. So it's not that everything which has been used, you just, go and look at it. No. Yes?
Do you track it separately when it comes to new items? Because, for example, if you buy it the day before,
No, you can't track every item for 1 year from the time you bought it. You will have to keep your Khums date fixed.
Let's say you buy like 20 kilos of rice the day before you have to pay the
Yeah,
if you don't use it.
you have to. So the main issue is fix your Khums date first. Then all those things will work. Gift from those who don't pay Khums. If you receive money or anything from somebody who doesn't pay Khums, for you it is permissible to use that money. You know, so you don't go anyone who's giving gift, you say, okay, do you pay Khums? It's none of your concern as far as the religion is concerned. You know, I hear a story about people who go and invited somewhere, they sit on the sufra and then they say to the host, do you pay Khums? Otherwise I'll not eat. Oh, you should ask before, not by the time we're sitting on the sufra. First of all, even akhlaqan, to ask anyone about this is wrong. You know, so shar'an, there is no problem whether somebody is paying Khums or not. If they're gifting something to you, you can use it. Even if you know he doesn't pay Khums, you don't have to pay Khums on that amount. Now, when it comes to the calculation of Khums, basically you look at the savings from this year's income. If it is less than your last year's savings, then you don't have to pay Khums. Irrespective whether this money that you have now is a new income. Maybe your saving from last year went to zero. As long as your saving is less than what you had paid last year, then there is no Khums on it. But if it is more than last year's Khums, that's where you will start counting onwards. So if you look at this way, you know, first year you had a saving of $100. You paid $20, so you are left with 80. Second year, your saving is 60. So you actually, $20 minus there. So there will be no Khums for you. And then in the third year, you go to, your saving is now 70. This is where you see that you have $10 extra. Now some people say, well, Maulana, can't I go to 80? To the earlier number there? No, they just go to the year before. And that's how you will do the calculation of Khums.
Sorry, Sheikh. Just a quick question on that. I've had trouble in the calculation. So when Khums-free money is a new income, now I know for sure that I have already used my Khums-free money. So let's say 2,000 was Khums-free money. Next year I have 2,500. But should I pay Khums of 500 or 2,500?
Only 500.
But if I'm convinced I've used my 2,000.
It's okay. The issue is not that, what you have saved now should be income generated only in this year. So whether it's a new income or not, what you paid last year, what was the, after paying Khums, from that you will calculate for further.
Sorry, we're not going back to the previous slide, because then, so in the second year, $60 is a new income, correct?
Yeah, it's a new income, but you still look at the left number from the year before. That was the perception before, but that's not correct. We have been thinking that once we had Khums free money and ended up, using the entire amount. Now at the end of the year, I'm left with the same amount, let's say 80. And I say, okay, this is a new income. No, even though it's a new income, you are still exempted from it. You will look at the number from last year.
It's almost over time. Take a break and then come back up as well.
Okay. Yeah, we have one important issue about Ayatollah Sistani's new ruling about it. So maybe we can continue after that if you want, yeah. Because that will take a little bit longer time.
That's okay with everyone. I think the master did work very good. Ready? We pray on the other side today. We have the men in the front and the ladies behind us. If you don't mind. We don't need to move the chairs again. Please stay.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى الطاهرين بسم الله على محمد. Okay, to continue, let me just go back to this this chart. Sometimes you see there's a misunderstanding where people say, well, I have to go to the highest number I had of my savings. And until I don't reach to a number above it, I'm, free from Khums. No, you just go to the number of the previous year, that's all. Otherwise, it becomes a nightmare for everybody to keep an account. I don't think anybody would know 10 years ago what was the saving left with me on that issue. So it's just going back to the previous year, that all.
So once you've paid Khums on the previous year, so that 80 amount which is left, I don't have to pay Khums on that anymore.
No.
So the next year, whatever savings I have, if it's in the same amount, like if it's not 100, it's 80, then I pay on the 80.
So
if I, like for example, my savings was last year was $80. Now that I've already paid.
Yeah.
I paid Khums, the savings is $80. Next year, my balance savings is not 60, but it is 80.
80.
I pay only on 80.
No, it's a zero.
Zero. Because it's the same.
A zero.
Oh, okay.
Now, a question I asked before.
If it was 90, then you pay Khums on 10.
Okay. Okay.
Okay?
Got it.
Yeah.
Now, Sheikh, you're left with 80, or you are left with 100. If you decide to use that 100, either pay off your mortgage further,
Yeah.
you've got a loan, or you decide to invest that 100, you still need to pay Khums on the 100?
No.
No.
You see, the issue is that suppose I was left with $5,000 after paying Khums. And I know in the middle of the year I took a ziyarat trip or maybe a trip to India, and the entire 5,000 was gone. After 6 months, when the Khums date comes, I realize I have 5,000 now. I'm 100% sure this 5,000 is new, because what I saved last year is already gone for my extra trip that I did. But because this amount is same as the last year's, savings left, I don't have to pay Khums on it. So you have to look at the number above that. So if my saving reached to, let's say, 6,000, then I have to pay Khums on 1,000.
So the investments, the profitability will apply next year.
Yeah, so then next year you will look at that number and then,
If you
go.
invest that money, then you will apply it next year.
Yeah.
So Maulana, you're going to cover investment in detail because what Brother Muhammad asked on.
Yeah, we'll talk about the mortgage issue. That's hardly okay. Now, savings for the future. In allowable expenses, we'd emphasize the point that savings for allowed expenditure are exempted from Khums as long as they occur in the same Khums year. So if you're planning something for next year, then it is a saving and you have to pay Khums on it. Now, this is where we looked at the issue of RRSP, RESP, and TFSA, because they are all for future, whether it's retirement or children's education or whatever. And so there is a liability as far as Khums is concerned. However, the exemption in this saving for future is done by all the mujtahideen if you are saving for your daughter's marriage. But the point here is that, you have to be really saving for the daughter's marriage. You can't say, okay, now I have a daughter, so I'm exempted from Khums. No, if you really are keeping an amount aside, this is $2,000 this year for this, child's marriage, then okay. So you can't use that as a saying that, okay, out of all my, savings, this is all dedicated for until I get the daughter married. No, that's not the way. Now, what about son's marriage? None of the mujtahideen have actually given that exemption, other than Ayatollah Sistani, with a condition. He says that if you are not able to manage the expenses of your son's marriage from your, normal income, then you are allowed to save for that also. But again, that has to be designated for that purpose separately. Now, down payment savings for your first residential home. The normal, the ruling that we have from 99.9% of the mujtahideen basically says if you are starting to save money for your first residential home, this is for future. Unless you're, doing the down payment that year, otherwise it will be counted as the future savings and you have to pay Khums on it. So for example, if you set aside $5,000 in year 2021 with the purpose of, down payment for my house, but I'm not putting it this year, it is in 5 years time, then it will cost me $1,000 there. I have to pay Khums on it. Then the second year, 2022, again I put aside $5,000 for that. Again I have to pay 1,000 Khums on it. Next year also the same. Fourth year also the same. In 2025, then whatever I have saved, so 9,999. Kitna hua? Huh? 36? Okay, anyway, I'm not good with numbers. So whatever you saved before, and then the 5,000 from that year, where you're going to do the down payment, that will be exempted from Khums because that's that year's saving which you are using it. Now this has been the opinion of all the Maraji, including Ayatollah Sistani, till about a few years ago. However, he now has come up with a unique ruling. Probably people from the West had been bothering him with this issue that we cannot afford to buy a house in the Western society. We can't save it. It takes a long time, and so we have to do this. He has come up with a ruling. In a way, he has relieved the people, especially in the West, from this burden of Khums for their first residential home. There are certain conditions there, and we'll talk about it. I will also say right from the very beginning, if you find his new ruling very complicated, and it is, you can always go back to the older one. It's not that his previous opinion has been nullified and made batil. No, you still have the option of going with that. Now, what is his ruling? He says, and this is an important condition you have to keep in mind. And let me read it the way I had written it here. If not buying a home is seriously considered in your urf and your society as a sign of neglecting your duty towards your family, so that condition is number one. You really have to, this is بينك وبين Allah. It will be between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to look at the environment where you are, whether this is considered to be a sign of negligence towards your family if you don't own a house. Then the savings done over the years for that purpose will be considered as allowable expense, which means it will be exempted from Khums. So the same scenario that we had in the previous slide, here in 2021, you saved 5,000, you don't pay Khums on it. Next year, same thing, third, fourth, so in the fifth year, you are paying the entire $25,000 as the down payment without, liability for Khums. So that's one condition that you have to keep in mind. Now, based on this ruling, if you as the first-time home buyer in Canada or any other country in the West, let's say, well, it doesn't apply only to the West, any part of the world, with a clear intend to save for a down payment within your RRSP also, although it's liable for homes, but in this case it will be exempted. Like in Canada, they give you this option that if you, set up your personalized retirement saving plan, you can access that without paying tax to the government for the first home buyer for down payment. So even there, the home's implication would be gone. Now, important points to reflect. And this, I want you to be clear about it. It is there in the slides that we have on our website, as well as this will be made available. So you need to probably go back and to look at it to understand your own situation. Number one, is owning a residential home versus renting really considered in your society as a sign of neglecting your duty towards your family? This is the question you have to answer yourself before you decide that you have that relief from the new fatwa of Ayatollah Sistani. If you are able to provide shelter for your family by renting a house or apartment, are you neglecting your duty towards your family? It's the same question put in a different way. Look at this issue seriously before applying the ruling of Ayatollah Sistani for the first time home buyers. Another point which is very important is that the house that you are buying should be within your means or within your standard. So if you are being extravagant in buying the size of the house or the type of the house, then this exemption will only apply to what would be considered to be within your means and standards. Whatever extra you're putting in, Khums will apply on it. Now, how do you define what is your standard, your means? This is where you go to urf. You look at the society, what they, and one way of understanding that, and that's not part of the fatwa or rulings. For example, I look at the Canadian banks. Before even you qualify for the mortgage, they would like to know your income and whether you are able to pay 30% of your gross income towards the mortgage payments or not. If you are not, then they will consider this property to be outside your range, your means, or your standard. So this is just an example, I'm saying, one way of how to see whether we are within our own means and range or not. And if you go beyond it, then the homes would apply to the extra. So if you end up paying more than that, you are going beyond your means, and you will have to pay khums on the extra amount that you are paying towards the mortgage payments. Now, how do you do the calculation according to his new ruling? Basically, what he's saying that if you have a loan for the basic needs, when we are talking about residential home here, and your accumulated savings are less than your outstanding loan, then you are exempted from homes until your accumulated savings of the last few years exceed the outstanding number of your loan. That's where not everybody can handle that. They say, oh, Maulana, just forget about it. I'll just go back to the, simple way of calculating homes, and that's it. Now, based on the understanding, the vast majority of Shias in the West with a mortgage would be exempt from homes during a large portion of their mortgage contract. And this is, what we consider to be a relief that Ayatollah Sistani has given to his followers. Now, another important thing here is that once your accumulated savings is greater than your outstanding mortgage balance, then you have to pay khums on the new savings as well as the mortgage payments that you are doing. In the previous system, whatever you give in the mortgage, it is exempted from khums. Here, because you had this relief for a few years, now your accumulated savings are going more than the outstanding mortgage. Now he says the relief is gone, as well as this relief in mortgage payments you are doing, that's also gone. You have to now pay khums even in the mortgage payments that you are doing. Now, what is accumulated savings? All positive changes to your savings balance every year. Negative changes do not count against this figure. Now, let us look at a scenario here. You buy a house which is within your means. The mortgage is $100,000, paying $10,000 a year towards the principal of the loan. Interest portion of payments is not considered here. If interest amount is not known, then look at the full amount, and I will come to the charts at the end. Over the years, you will keep the track of your savings balance at the end of the year as it fluctuates up and down. And you would also track the accumulated savings as well, which are only positive changes in your balance, as mentioned in the last slide. Now, look at this example here. I'm not really a maths person. This old, my son is figured out for me, and so this is his work in a way. So we have there the mortgage principal balance is $100,000. And then you go to the yearly mortgage payments, then saving balance, net change, accumulated savings, positive ones only, application of homes, whether it's applicable or not. So there we are looking at, number one, it's 90,000 because 10,000 has been paid. Principal was basically there, 10,000. Bank saving showed 15,000. So there, the accumulated saving positive is only 5,000 at the end. Because it is less, this is where you get the number 0 for the Khums. Until you come to number 7. And that's where you see the numbers now start changing. And that is where the application of Khums would apply on you in the 7th year. And it goes in the same way. In the 10th year, your basically principal balance is 0, but your mortgage payments are still continuing. And according to Ayatul Sistani now, even your mortgage payments would be liable for a Khums. So this is where you see at the end, the Khums amount there. So you can look at this later on at your own leisure, inshallah. So you have to actually keep track of your accumulated savings and calculate them every year. So it's not that easy thing to do, although he has made it kind of as a relief for us. But this is where you'll have to go through it in order to implement that fatwa. Okay, let me just now bring some other points about it. We'll leave the figures aside. You can look at it. This applies to your primary residence only, not investment properties. Otherwise, everybody will be perpetually in debt, and then never have to then, pay homes. That is something you have to keep in mind. Yes.
Does that apply to your primary residence or your first home?
Primary residence. So even if you,
First home.
no. Yeah. So for example, if you already have a home, let's say the first home, and now because of the size of the family, you want to expand. So you sell that and get another one. That would be okay. Yeah.
Maulana Sahab,
Ji.
just a question. Would this primary residence law be applicable? Because if we're not taking the amount from the bank as a loan or as qard, we're taking with the niyat of istinqadh?
Well, I know some of my colleagues in the US were having a discussion with me on this issue when they saw my seminar about it. They said, but we do the niyat of istinqaz, and istinqaz is not loan, so this fatwa wouldn't apply. I said, you look at all the 3 pages of question and answer I have from Ayatul Sistani. My questions are very directed, very clear. We're talking about Canada, talking about getting a mortgage, a loan, and the niyat of istinqaz is obvious there, implied. Yet in the answer is the same, scenario that he's responding to my question. And so, but I looked at it more on this issue as a response to their objection. You can actually do the niyat not of istinqaz, because istinqaz is not then considered as a dain, as a loan. But there is another concept in fiqh. All these discussions made me like the lawyer looking for other ways of explaining this, So there is another concept of fiqh known as dhiman. So you don't do the niyat of istinqaz. The niyat of dhiman means I guarantee that the loan I'm getting, I'm going to pay that back. But my guarantee doesn't cover the interest in niyat. So then this fatwa will apply. So, but that's all, semantics and going into that. Because the way I had sent the questions when I heard first time about it, there was no indication that, oh, you are doing the niyat of istinqas, so this would not apply. Now, so the first question is that this is about the primary residence only. Number two, it should be within your means and standard, and would apply to the principle of deferring khums would apply to any loan that can be considered a present necessity for the person in eyes of the urf. So it's not only the residential home. If there is another zarurat, as we call it, necessary or pressing need where a person has to get a loan, that relief would also apply there. Not the issue of investment, no. Whether it's purchase of a car or student loan, medical treatment, or even getting it from line of credit and things like that. Okay, I think I'll stop that. Then we going into business section of it. What I would say is that to look at it, you can go back to the the presentation that we have online also. Very quickly, let me just go through this ayat. Remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that whatever you acquire, إِنَّمَا غَنِمْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ, then Allah has a portion in it, khums, and even the Rasul and Zawil Qurba and Yatama and Masakin and Ibn Sabil. Allah's share, where does it go? It basically goes to Rasulullah. When Rasul is not there, then Allah's share and Rasul's share also goes to the Imam. Zawil Qurba here is the one who is related to Allah, to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's where we have half of the khums. That's where you hear the term Sahmul Imam these days. And the other half, Yatama, Masakin, and Ibn Sabil, this refers to those who are from Banu Hashim, the Sadat, who are, orphan or poor or stranded, and this was the understanding even in the Sunni fiqh about the usage of khums is concerned. Keep in mind that when it comes to the Banu Hashim, they are exempt, they are barred from any usage of zakat or sadaqah in that sense. Sayyid al-Imam is mostly used for poor and needy Shias and for propagation of faith and even to support the religious seminaries. On the Sami Sadat issue, of course, the poor orphan, poor, needy, and the stranded traveler, just to make sure that the person reaches home. Now, on this issue of Sami Sadat, there are many mujtahideen and maraji who say you don't need a permission. If you can identify anyone from Sadat who qualifies for that, you can use the Sami Sadat directly. Some of them actually required ijaza even in Sami Sadat case, like Imam Khomeini as well as Ayatollah Khamenei. But Ayatollah Sistani, Ayatollah Khoi, Marhum Ayatollah Gul Paigani, they, on a practical level, they would say, no, as far as Sami Sadat is concerned, you as an individual have a right to identify individuals if you want and help them out in that way. Sahmi Imam, that's where the issue of permission from the mujtahid or the marja comes in. That you use it either with their permission or permission of the authorized wakil of the mujtahid. for the religious purposes. I'll just say one more thing here, just for your information. When it comes to certain special cases, the Grand Ayatollah Sistani has actually given a blanket, ijaza in certain cases for Sahm al-Imam, like in Iraq, after the situation where the Shias were mostly in the southern part of Iraq, they are still going through a lot of problems. And there, Ayatollah Sistani, for last few years, have been saying, if you are able to identify a Shia who is in need from your neighbor or relatives or friends or members of the community, he says just use the Sahmi Imam to relieve their poverty and their situation. You don't need to send it to me or any of my wakala on this issue. This is as far as Iraq is concerned. Or for example, when was this a flood disaster in Pakistan? There also he gave the permission for, I think there was some limited time, but that was given in that way. So it depends on the situation to situation here. This one, if you want to just get a copy or screenshot of it, this is where you will find the seminar and even the Excel sheet in details for the first time, for residential home exemption, and on many other, updates about the niyat of istinqaz and things like that on it, inshallah. So I'll
All these questions have come from the online side.
Oh, okay.
There's about 10 of them.
Okay, these are the questions which have come online. Please comment on zakat as it is not given much importance. Again, in that website, if you go, I have a paper on the issue of zakat in Shia fiqh. And I would like to say that the term zakat in the Quran, it has come many times, but we have to realize that it is not used always in the technical meaning as it's used in fiqh, where you put, zakat and khums and anfal separately. Zakat became wajib during the later years of the Prophet in Medina. I think the last 5 or 3 years before he passed away. But the word zakat comes in the ayat of Quran, even which were revealed in Mecca. And so that's where you have to realize that the word zakat, when it comes in the Quran, it's not always in the same meaning. Many times it is in the meaning of charity in general, especially whenever it comes with salat. When you see the ayat saying, aqimu salat wa atu zakat, it's not this technical zakat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about. It is actually used in a symbolic sense that a Muslim's salvation does not only depend on fulfilling Allah's right, which is exemplified by salat, but also the rights of the people. And that is exemplified by zakat. So the words are not always used in the same meaning. For example, there are anbiya like Prophet Isa alayhi salam. He says Allah has ordered me to establish prayers and give zakat. There was no zakat system in the Christian faith the way we know. So it's not to be taken in that meaning. So that's one thing I would say, because people think that is more important than khums because it has come many, many times in the Quran. Now, whether it is given importance or not, this depends on the region and the time where you are. You see, the items on which zakat is applicable is either gold and silver coins, or some cattle, or some crops. So if you are not a farmer, if you are not dealing with keeping and maintaining and selling, cow and sheep and things like that, zakat would not be applicable to you. And therefore, you will see only in the areas where Shias are in this business, for them, this issue of zakat becomes more relevant. But not in the areas, I still have to find a Shia farmer in North America. I don't know anyone. I only know one person who tried, never knew anything about farming, and his cows died in the winter, first winter which came. So I don't know, in Australia you have, this is the beef capital of the world, but I haven't seen a Shia farmer as yet. And so therefore we don't discuss about it. Even in Khums, earlier we had 7 items there, but we only talk about 1 item or 2 items, which are more relevant. And so when we talk about issues, we look at what is relevant and then we talk about it. The second question is, please explain if we need to pay khums on the gold which we buy here in Sydney for use on different occasions. So apparently we are talking about jewelry. Zakat would be applicable on coins only. But if it is in jewelry form and if it is within your standard and you use it, it's a used item. There wouldn't be khums on it. But if you have a new gold or silver item which has not been used by your khums date, then you have to calculate the value of that in your savings. But if it's used, then it's a used item and there is no khums on it.
Sayyid, how do you reconcile that with the earlier slide which talked about shampoo or remaining, which has a resale value? Or rice. How do you reconcile that? Because you use it once, it's still got a value, it might even appreciate.
Yeah, but this is we are talking about anything which is used. Now that was the issue of portion of items that we use. Do we have to calculate the remaining part of it? Here, gold and silver, you use it, it's still the same. Nothing is, amount-wise is not. Yeah, value, it can go up and down. So it's a used item, yeah. Can we pay khums on an ongoing weekly basis from your salary as at the end of the year, not sure if there would be a saving left? Now, number one, khums is not a wajib. It's not wajib to save to pay khums. It only becomes wajib if you have a saving. And so weekly basis, I don't think that's practical. And I think it's easier just to go with an annual basis.
Sorry, Maulana, on that, if you don't mind, we have a few people who pay monthly and then they calculate the ending if they're short, so their cash flow, that they can manage that.
Yeah, so if people pay monthly and do the calculation at the end of the year, that's fine. Yeah. So they have a niyat that I'm giving now. I'm not sure if this is wajib or not, but at the end of the year, they will do the calculation and say, okay, this is within my wajib or less than that, so I have to make it up, and then, yeah, that would be okay. Yeah. How about money kept in a home loan offset account? What is this? So offset account?
I'm assuming, because it came online, so if you have a mortgage and you are paying 5% interest and you have and you're paying your monthly payments, you can have a bank account where your salary goes, where you are earning 3% interest. So that interest that you are earning monthly is offset with the monthly you're paying on that month at that time. So it's your daily necessity, I'm assuming your salary, but it's reducing your interest rate that you are paying on your home loan. But
No,
that's
then-
done on a pay cycle process, I'm assuming.
So basically, this is in a way mortgage given gradually, paid.
Sorry?
This is the mortgage.
It's reducing the interest on your mortgage, but what I'm assuming from what you've already said is that because it's their salary and then they're drawing the money to use their salary, so they're not actually, it's not their saving over the long term, it's a monthly salary. So I'm assuming the same annualized saving would still have to occur, but they're reducing their interest rate over time.
So I'll just explain the offset account, not the Khums part, right? It's for him. Okay, so offset account is, let's say if you have taken a mortgage of 100,000, right? So bank has provision, they can give you an offset account where you can just put money. So for example, if you have offset account, you put 20,000 there. So your principal will now be 80,000. So you'll pay, as Abbas bhai was explaining, you will pay less on interest. So let's say you can just keep on saving on offset account. It will just reduce your principal. So let's say if you pay next month, you pay interest. So next month you save, let's say 20,000 more on offset account, then your principal would be 60,000. So you'll pay interest only on 60,000.
But repayment is remaining same.
Yeah.
Repayment is remaining same.
No, it's just principal. Yes, correct. So it's just like offset, it's just reduce your principal.
Interest.
Yep. Yes, interest you can say in the long term.
Reduce your interest and increase your in the repayment.
Yeah.
Reduce your interest, but principal is going in your book.
No, principal is
Same.
because it's taking the interest calculation.
So basically, it's a money which is still staying with the person.
It's a saving. Yes.
Yeah, then Khums will applicable. Yeah.
But not, sorry, Sheikh, just to go back. There are some people who have, and I think I'm assuming that's the question here. If you have a mortgage of $100,000, but your salary is $2,000 a week, you put your $2,000 into your offset account, which when they calculate your interest on your home and your interest that you've earned in that week, it's a small amount. It reduces the interest there. But that saving of that 2,000 is your weekly earning. So you are going to withdraw that anyway to keep using that. There's not really a net saving unless they've deliberately put a cash saving there to offset that account, which would be silly because they should just put it straight into their mortgage account. I'm sure the financial planners will tell me I'm wrong or right here.
Well, basically, still complicated. I still don't know the full picture there. But if it is staying with them, that money is remaining with them, yeah, the Khums date, they have to pay Khums on it.
Yep. After 12 months, not on a weekly basis, right?
On their Khums date.
But calculated at the end of it. Thank you.
If you already paid Khums on a saving which is for your child's future consumption, then does the child have to pay Khums when he or she is baligh? See, we explained that if you are saving it for the child, for the future, so you pay Khums on it, and when the time comes, you still own it, you still control it, and you spend it for your child, then this is yours. You already paid the Khums. But legally, if it is a vehicle like RRSP, then at the time of maturity, it's not anymore the property of the parents. It goes in the name of the child. So the ownership is changing. And when the ownership changes, it becomes the child's property. And for that year, if he uses it, the whole amount, there's no Khums. Whatever is saved at the end, the child will have to pay for the Khums on it. Gains or losses on shares, unrealized gain sources, is Khums valid? because the amount is not known. Now, as far as the, if you're talking about, let's say, investments or your shares in the stocks, you would know at the Khums date, you can find out what is the value at the time. If the value has gone up, you'll have to pay Khums on it because you can sell that. It is not tied. But if the value has gone down, you can actually offset that loss from other saving or profit that you have. You can do that in order to balance it.
So, Sheikh, with that question there, second question would be, would it just be simpler to take your balance sheet position at the end of every year? If you're positive, you have to pay if your share price has gone up, and if in the next year, if you take a loss, it'll offset your future, which I can see is putting fear into some people sitting here. That's why I'm re-asking you this question, and not me.
What I'm saying is that the share that you have the option of selling that. It's not tied in.
Yes.
And that's why you'll have to calculate the value of that. If it's gone up, Khums will apply on it. If it's gone down, then you can actually use your other savings to deduct that to make up for your loss.
So if my share price goes from $1 to $2 this year, I pay the Khums on the $1.
Yeah.
And next year, if the same share comes to 50 cents, I take a credit on offset my Khums on the following year.
Yeah.
Clear? No, sorry. Am I answering? Because no. Let me explain again. Okay. This year I buy shares for $1. At the end of my year, the share price is now $2. I now have to pay Khums of 20% on $1. Correct? Next year, after 1 year again, at the end of the second year, the same share price is now 50 cents. I now can take a loss against the dollar, right? Calculate my Khums loss and offset it on my Khums. No, it's offset on your Khums. No, your total Khums at the end of the second year. It's like it works the same way as your tax returns, right?
Okay, I think there are two things being confused here.
Yep.
One is you're looking at your savings, and how do you calculate it? So this is where you go to these savings of the previous year. Okay, so if it was $80 last year, now it is 60, then you don't have to pay Khums. That's one thing. So Khums will not apply because you are down, your savings are down. Here you're talking about your shares, your investment. And if it goes up, that amount is eligible for Khums. If it has gone down, then you can offset that amount from other profit or savings that you have.
So same way as we do with
For
taxes.
the same years.
That's the same we do with taxes, right? If one part of your business loses money, you offset it to the other part. Yeah.
But with taxes, you can even offset for future earnings.
Sorry?
You can keep a loss for future earnings.
Yes.
Not with Khums. With Khums on the same year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would not carry on the year after, no.
Sorry, Sheikh, there's a question here. So if you're saying that if you've got a share, yeah, so if you bought Amazon for $5, you'd be a billionaire. But apart from that, you don't want to sell it for 20 years. I think from my understanding what Sayyid has said, every year you have to work out the Khums.
See, when it comes to investments, you have the option of selling it. It's not tied. So if it goes up, you have to pay the amount on the increment. Yeah, every year, yeah.
That doesn't apply for investment property. They're not liquid.
Investment property,
It can be sold quickly.
It will be the same principle.
Even though you can't technically get that money straight away. You can't sell it.
6 weeks.
Technically, I think it would apply. I remember having a discussion with some people who are in real estate business. So they buy a house to keep it there to sell it when the prices go up.
Yeah.
If they are able to sell, then they have to pay Khums on the increment. But if they are not able to sell, means the market is such that, or they know that I can sell now, but I know next year the price will even go up, so I just keep it.
Yeah.
If you keep it, you'll pay Khums on the increment.
What if there's no net savings?
Huh?
You don't have any profit net savings, it's zero. How can you pay for that?
You will from the sale of the property.
You write it down somewhere?
You haven't sold it, you're not selling it, but you just take.
No, but that's the investment property anyway.
It's not your personal home, it's an investment property.
Then how does negative gearing work if you're losing money on it every month?
If I can give one personal opinion, nothing to do with religious side, Sheikh Sayyid is here to answer that. What I suggest to you all, something that I use as a principle, is take a balance sheet approach to whatever you do. Whether it's negative gearing or not, it has a net capital value. Your property that you bought for $1 million last year, on your balance sheet will be worth 1.2 million today, right? And your losses of your interest will be coming off that. So your balance sheet will change from one year to the other. That will give you a very simple, rather than trying to identify shares and property, because if you've got shares, your balance sheet will be up or your balance sheet will be down. Any accountants can correct me, please feel free to do so.
I think one of the issues he is mentioning is that, well, I don't have extra money. Okay, so that's why I'm saying, write it down. What is the value which is increased and what is the Khums applicable on it? So when you sell it next year, that's how you would do the payment then. The next, huh?
Sorry. So you don't pay it if you can't afford it, even though.
No, but you have a liability, so put it down.
And you keep it long.
Yeah.
How long can you keep the liability for?
Next question is expenses on travel, recreation paid this year, but used in next Khums year. Okay. So this is what we were talking about, buying a package 6 months before. It's kind of becoming very norm now. Means if you're planning to go for, whether it's Hajj or Umrah or a vacation, and the prices now are down, if you wait till the last moment, it's going to be much more expensive. I still don't have a confirmed answer on this issue, but I would say, looking at the environment, this should be okay. Means you can still consider it to be allowable expense. What is the ruling on having multiple investment properties? Would the increase in the equity be applicable for Khums if sold? Yeah, we already talked about it. You mentioned about legitimate expenses including ziyarat. So if the Khums debt arrives before the expenses for ziyarat are paid, does that mean that these expenses can be exempted from income? Is this same as what we discussed before? Yeah, okay. Yeah, because sometimes it is such that you have to make the payment in advance, although the actual journey will take place later on. So it's already gone from you, so that should be okay. Okay, so we'll...
I had a question on the cemetery, like we purchase graves. On the graves, if you purchase, and sometimes it's quite costly. So on that, what's the fatwa?
You mean Khums?
Yes, Khums on the price of the grave.
Well, it's not going to be used in the same year, though. So Khums will be applicable on that, as well as on kafan, for example, if somebody buys. And if it stays with the person for a year, then he has to pay, Khums on the kafan also.
Every year?
No, only once. Khums is only once. It's zakat, which has different ratios for everything. Animal or, silver and gold coins, they are in certain measures. If it reaches to this point, you have to pay that much. Lower, then there's a lower ratio for it. So in zakat, it is every year until it reaches to the lowest measure. But in Khums, it's only once. Once you paid Khums, it is Khums free forever.
So, sorry, Maulana, I wanted to ask, as looking at an overall picture, does Khums effectively disincentivize saving? Can you just say, I need to have 3 holidays a year, I need to do a ziyarat a year, I need to buy a car a year, and therefore these are all technical necessities, I have no savings at the end of the year. So does that disincentivize me to make savings because I don't need to pay Khums now, because I've spent everything on stuff that I deem as a necessity?
Well, if it is, as I said, considered to be within your means and standard, if it's norm for a person like you to go for ziyarat every year, okay, then that's fine. Yeah.
1 second.
Just a quick one, and I know this is probably related to men only. For example, normal cars, as per standard, someone may consider 1 car, maybe 2 cars, that's usually sufficient for a family. What if a guy like me goes out and buys a motorcycle for himself? Would that still be considered, it's not a necessity for me, that's for sure, I know it, right? I'm buying it because I like riding a motorcycle. Do I have to pay Khums on that?
He's trying to get permission from his wife to buy a motorbike.
That's what I think he's
doing. If it's not necessity or if it's not within your means and standard, then Khums would apply on it.
It's within my means and standard, but,
It's not necessary, yeah.
Sheikh, just a couple of...
Well, I think to indulge in that enjoyment, you need to pay Khums on it.
Sayyid, just a question online. There's 2 questions, and that's all. We've told them no more questions. If we pay Khums, same Imam, should we ask for a receipt? Is there any ruling on this?
See, there is no specific ruling in a fiqhi point of view, but administratively, one of the wakils of Ayatollah Sistani asked him about it, and he got the response that, yes, you must get a receipt.
Yeah.
But it's not just a black and white issue. It's a matter of trust. They wanted to make sure people ask those questions.
Okay.
So if you know somebody and you trust that individual, that's okay. I think the best thing is next time you go for ziyarat, ask Agha, where do I go? Should I give it to this person or not?
Our community likes the receipt because it's tax deductible, but then we also get one from the other side to make sure they get 2 receipts. The other last question, Maulana, that online has come, is there a quick way to keep in touch with the wakils of Ayatollah Sistani for getting various approvals, ijazas, for example, formulation of installments of Khums, Seme Imam, etc.? I'm reading it as it was sent. Should I read it again?
So getting ijaza for?
Is there a quick way to keep in touch with the wakils of Ayatollah Sistani for getting various approvals, ijazas, for example, formulation of installments of Khums, Seme Imam, etc.? I'm not sure what they mean by that.
I didn't understand the last example, how it's applicable to that. Yeah. But yeah, as far as the issue of ijaza is concerned, yes, you can ask that question. You can even ask the wakil to see the ijaza if you feel like that. That's okay. They are wukala of the Maraji in different parts of the world. You just need to find somebody whom you can trust. Yeah.
Okay, with that, if you don't mind, I think one last question.
Sorry, Maulana, we covered this a few times, but maybe my mind is a bit slow today on the investment property. So if I understood it correctly, Khums is not payable on the mortgage payments, but at the end, like Brother Abbas explained, you either keep balance sheet every year or at the end when you sell it, you pay Khums on that increased value?
Increased, yes.
But what if there is no increased value, because you mentioned the issue of remaining in debt in perpetuity, because you can purchase investment property with zero down payment, zero of your own principal. You can just keep purchasing so long as you're renting it out and there is an income. You can keep buying and investing forever, and you'll be in debt forever if you like. So
It has a capital value, the building.
Which we never ever get, though. It's only when you
But
sell
that's
it.
your choice. Yes, Sheikh said you can sell it.
Yeah, but if you don't want to.
But no, he said sell it.
Yeah,
You
but-
made it
If-
clear. You can sell any property within 6 weeks.
The issue is
before
that,
6 weeks. Yeah.
do you have the ability to sell it? Or are your hands tied? They are not tied. You can sell it. You chose not to sell it. And so Khums will come on the increment.
You don't know what the value is until you sell it.
But then you don't know the value until you sell it. But I think what Sayyid explained, you're taking an assessment of a value of a building, right? This year it could be going up. For those who have enjoyed the last 20 years, for those who have been through 1987, where property prices halved overnight, they do fall. And it works. But you can also deduct, and I'm sure if Sayyid can correct me, your costs of that as well. But you have a fair assessment. When you put it on the market, that I'm going to sell it in 6 weeks, this is what I want, you don't have to sell it at that point in time. But you'll have a real understanding of where the value sits.
So you do that every year.
But don't you do that for your balance sheet anyway, to get your tax rate, your valuation on what you own?
No, you do what you're getting from rent.
No, but your value of your capital building, your investment has a value.
Yeah.
If you buy a building for $1 million, there is a net value. Next year, your balance sheet, not your profit and loss, your balance sheet will be, your accountant will say, well, this building is worth more or less. Now, you may want to say it's worth less and less.
Yeah.
That, I think, is left in our own hands between us and God as to where it is. But it has a value that has gone up. The tax office, your, for example, if you are paying what do you call the tax on investment properties? The land tax. The land tax that you pay has a value. It will show you your land tax has gone up by 5%. Well, that means your property has gone up also, right? Or your land tax has gone down, which I haven't seen yet, but you can calculate the value of that there.
If you don't have that.
How do you, but if you have an investment property, you get a land tax bill every year.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. If you're negatively gearing, you can argue.
But negative gearing has nothing to do with the value of capital. Negative gearing is your P&L, not your balance sheet.
Yeah, but I might not have that 20% in my.
You write it down. Sayyid gave you a ruling on that, right?
So you write it down for, say, 10 years, and then when you sell it, it's less than what you've calculated. Then
But it's the annualized value, right? That's where I think where Sayyid has explained very clearly there. Look, just for something in Australia, trust me, I've been at trying to find every loophole possible. It's not me personally, I'm not saying you, right? But the simplest way I looked at it when working out Khums is I take a very capital view of everything. This is the value it is worth this year. This is the value it was worth last year. Here is what the tax office will ask me for to pay tax on. Correct? Yep. Now, my question to Sayyid before he leaves was this question. Is Khums calculated before I pay the tax or after I pay the tax in Australia? Not the Khums, the federal tax.
After paying all the tax.
Thank you. You've made me a very happy person. Thank you for that question. Yes, so
Because
you know how much tax you're paying.
The tax is basically allowable expense.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Basically increasing the value
Yeah.
minus outstanding mortgage.
Your balance sheet will take away all your net costs. You need to sit with your accountant to have a personal balance sheet. The way I would say, one thing a lot of personal incomes do not take consideration. Negative gearing, it's not confusing. It's very simple. Negative gearing is a business, just that you don't have a business name for it. You're the business. It still has a value. Separate yourself from it. Okay, my negative gearing, this is how much my capital worth is, this is my cost. Work it then with your salary and work it out that way. It's not very difficult. Okay. with just, if I will ask Sheikh, inshallah, with all your loud salawat, that if we can do a shorter session next Saturday or Sunday on wills, or that there, or if someone has any personal Khums checking they want, I will try and convince Sayyid to allow us to do that one more time. And also, I will send Brother Samir's details for your estate planning and your wills, etc., from Islamic point of view. I'm not going to have time, sorry, Samir. I know you've come all this way, but I'll take your details and we'll share that. And Sayyid also has on his website a calculator for your wills that you can do, which I will also share at the end of that there. Sayyid, thank you very, very much for your thing. Everyone's happy with that? All right, inshallah. Please, thank you very much for joining us. There's a tea and a bite to eat outside. And inshallah, if we can convince Sayyid for one more session next week, we'll try and do that. Thank you. Muhammad Wali, Muhammad Salawat.